G'day ladies and gentlemen, Duckville here. Welcome to a StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm replay cast. We've got a Protoss versus Terran coming up today. It is going to be on Habitation Station, a map which has survived through the new season of Season 2 in 2014. Of course, up at the top left-hand side as our Red Terran player. Currently playing for Team AxS, it is Salvation. And his opponent towards the top right hand side as our blue Protoss player here. Both these players are from the C region, so if you haven't necessarily heard of them, then I can understand, but certainly they are two very high level quality players from their respective races. Here in the blue is our Protoss, it is Probe. Alright, so yeah, it has been about a week or so since I put up some content. I do apologize for that. Been a little bit busy last week, had a few things to take care of, but we're all back in action right now. Got a few replays that'll be coming up this week. We've also got some streaming coming up to, well, I suppose it'll be a little bit late once this cast goes up, but I am streaming a lot of Natural Selection 2 and some StarCraft 2, so make sure you are jumping on Tuesday nights. That's Tuesday Australia time. It is Natural Selection 2 night, and Wednesdays in StarCraft 2. So jump on to twitch.tv/DuckvilleLol for your streaming funds. We've got our Protoss player Probe here. Now, Probe is a really good player here from Australia, and he's been doing these kinds of builds that are really interesting. He has slightly different gas timings and sort of gas numbers that he brings in, but it all works out really nicely. So what we're going to keep an eye on here is how Probe adjusts to what he sees, and then adjusts the amount of gas income relatively to his particular build that he's doing. But for now, it is going to be a normal gateway expansion, as we can see, or gateway opening, with our second gas now coming up just now. We've got two inside the gas number 1, and then we'll probably see, I would guess, another 2 shortly after that once the second gas has been completed. But Salvation has gone for a CC first. We've got 2 racks going to be following this one up. As we can see, he's going to play a very economic kind of style here as our Terran. Now, the thing about CC first, it is very daring in one respect, because if the Protoss is being aggressive, if they do get a Zealot out first and they send it straight across the map, you can take quite a bit of damage. It can be something that can be quite frustrating to deal with. But if you can get, as long as you're safe, and if the Protoss is playing what is normally considered a standard kind of thing, which is to skip that Zealot and then go straight for a Stalker, you should be a-okay, because by the time the Stalker comes across the map, you'll have a couple of Marines. You should have a bunker up if you're being very safe about it, and you should be all a-okay, which means that you'll have a really nice boost to your economy. You'll have double SCVs coming in. You'll have double mules also being dropped as well. Your gas will be a little bit later normally with most kinds of fast expansion builds like this, but it's not really to worry, because you don't really need that gas at the start. Now, you might be thinking, why don't we need gas at the start? Well, you don't need to build reactors. You don't need to build tech labs. Even then, if you did build a tech lab, you're not going to have enough gas to be able to research STEM. You're not going to be getting any upgrades or anything like this. And the reason for this is because your army is so delayed. As we can see, there's only 4 Marines out on the map. That's not exactly much. It's not as if you start STEM now, you're going to have a nice amount of units in, the sort of the 7-minute mark or something like that. So it is a little bit better. I do like these builds. There are some builds where some people will grab just 1 gas and try and get the first gas pumping a little bit quicker, but I like these ones better, where you double gas just after. So we can see now Salvation will grab a reactor and his tech lab as well. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the map, Probe has established his own natural, nice and safe. A couple of Stalkers here. Even the old Scantipede is ready to defend here, along with the Mothership Core. First Sentry is coming up. We can also see that there is a Robo, and we are getting now 3 and 3, so we are bringing in a lot more gas. We'll probably see, because I think I know what he is going to go for here. I think we'll see the extra 2 gases go down very soon, as he'll probably be looking for a Twilight Council and heading up towards this Templar opening, which I do see Probe do a lot, and it is very strong. So Salvation will have to keep his wits about him. He has started up STEM. A couple of Marines in the main are now defending. We still haven't gotten our factory yet. Now, Of course, this is a partial side effect of getting those gases really late, but also you would expect this to start very soon. He's sort of floating a little bit of gas right now. There we go. Drops down the factory. We have a couple of SCVs getting back to work here, or at least they're... well, they should be. I'm not sure what these two guys are doing. They're perhaps waiting to build a couple more supply depots here. But Probe's going to head across with this observer and do a little bit of scouting to find out what is going on over there. A couple of extra gates have gone down to take us to a total of 3. We have +1 armor researching right now. Here are the extra gases at the natural as well to make sure that he is bringing in enough to make sure he can get that Templar tech started, which will be coming very soon. I'm expecting that to be thrown down in just a moment. There it is. In fact, the Twilight Council does go down while taking a quick peek at what his opponent is up to. He's come through and he said, alright, we can see that there's 3 racks. We've got a little bit of tech research going on here with the combat shields and the stim as well. We'll probably see a reactor and a starport go down in a moment. Yep, there it is. All standard, very standard stuff. There's nothing too exciting coming out of either of these plays so far. It's just nice and crisp stuff. However, we can see that Salvation has popped into the natural. He's coming in to say hello, looking to snipe the mothership core. Not going to get it. How many probes did he get? Just a 5. So there's not a huge amount of probes here, and it does lose all of that, all of the units that came across. That's 8 Marines and a Marauder. In fact, 9 Marines, as one of the stragglers does get killed off. He didn't have any further orders to retreat back further, but yeah, not exactly the best of trades there for our Terran play. He only sniped off a couple of probes. It really wasn't worth it. Maybe if the mothership core was taken down in the process, that would have been a little bit of a nicer conversion there for Salvation, but unfortunately not. Templar Archives is down. +1 to armor is just about ready for probe, and he will be getting his charge research upgraded very quickly here. This allows you to defend against those kind of timing attacks. Normally, of course, you'd be expecting a Terran to be coming across at around about sort of that 10 to sort of anywhere between 9 and 11 minute mark. It depends how aggressive they're being, and they would normally have stims. So normally at this point, this is the point where you'd want to drop down a few zealots. You need to make sure you have some Archons ready to go, because of course at the start of, like during these early portions of this kind of opening, you're relatively exposed to some of these various pushes. And now, as we can see, with Salvation in his very boosted economic state, is going to have a large amount of units now pushing forward. Stim is done. He's going to have +1 to weapons and armor, but not in time for this push. And as we were talking about, normally there is a little bit of an exposed point here where if you were doing a Colossus-based opening, you'd be okay, because you'd have a couple of Colossus out and you'd be okay at defending this kind of thing. But Probe senses a little bit of weakness here. Charge is just about done. If the charge can kick in fact it does right now. A couple of Zealots getting their Nikes on and charging forwards, but they decide to back off for now. And that's a good deflection there. He only lost a couple of Zealots, I believe. We've now gotten a little bit more space to move. As we can see, Probe has gotten his 3rd base down, and things will be proceeding along into the mid-game here. There's no real chance that our Terran player is going to be able to drop inside the main. We have a couple of Stalkers and Cannons here to defend. +1 to weapons, and Storm is now researching for our Protoss player as we speak. And back at home, Salvation, he's also taking his 3rd base, getting prepared to boost his own economy, but he will look forwards to try and take out one of these Archons here. Getting a little bit low on the shields, but this guy, of course, they're very tanky. Don't mess with Archons. They'll put up the Pimp Fist and lay the smackdown. Salvation trying to start a step back. Perhaps this would be a time to get out of there, because, yeah, he's starting to get a little bit low. The stim is starting to cost him a little bit of health. Normally at this stage, you would also see a Terran trying to drop at the same time as these little, these combination moves. You'd see them pushing at the front, trying to lure some of the Protoss forces out, while also dropping in here. But Salvation hasn't really gone down that path yet. Has he actually seen that there's some... No, he hasn't actually. I'm a little bit surprised. I kind of would have expected him to at least attempt to drop in there. There are a couple of cannons, as we said, a Stalker or 2 as well to defend, but it's a little bit surprising that he hasn't even attempted that. But he's going to get what he can as well, just through the middle, sniping out an observer there. His 3rd base almost operational. Storm is now online, and we will see how Probe is able to utilize his Storm here. You could expect him to start preparing for a big push. We may see a Probe move out to throw down a proxy pylon or something like that, but for the moment it looks as if he's just going to wait here. There's just these small timings here where you know, the Terran has a little bit of room to move. They could look to drop. The Protoss may not be fully defended inside the main, and Probe's actually going to move forwards on top of these Widow Mines, takes them all out before they're able to get a shot off. There are lots of Zealots here. There's so many Zealots. These guys are going to be doing a lot of work. As we said, I kind of would like to see a probe head down the bottom side of the map, maybe set up a proxy pylon to prepare our Protoss for his push. This is a time. Storm is done. We've got our extra gateways coming on as well to be able to boost up the units on the ground. And as we can see, double upgrades being chrono boosted out as quickly as possible. So this is the time where it's about to get really messy for the Terran, and he has to be very careful. And considering there are no ghosts out on the field for Salvation at the moment, but he's trying to use these Widow Mines, trying to create a little bit of space here where he can sort of move into this position, snipe off a couple of units, and then retreat back across the Widow Mines because they do that extra little bit of splash damage against shields and whatnot now. So it's sort of, I just kind of feel that Salvation isn't taking advantage of the small little space that he's got right now. He really could be trying to drop inside the main, but hasn't attempted that at all. But this is all just working quite nicely for Probe. He's now starting to get these upgrades on. 2-2 for charge lots is a dangerous thing to behold. And when you've got Storm available as well, it does start to get messy for a Terran, especially when the Ghosts are not out on the field. So Salvation, what is he going to be able to do here? A few more gateways are now ready to go inside the main base. We can see that Salvation is continuing to macro up at a really decent pace. Both these players have jumped up to almost their 200 supply, but you just kind of favor Probe at the moment, because as soon as he starts to win a fight, he's going to be in a wonderful position, because you know, you can start to really just you know, I guess to use a particular word, and hopefully no pun intended, but you can just storm forwards. You've got your Storm, you take out some of these units at the front, and then just start blasting forwards and looking for a drop finally, but unfortunately just the wrong timing there. Some Widow Mines do get some good shots off. We can see the Probe is still going to try and charge his way back in, waiting for the Storms, dropping down on big clusters of Terran units there, taking out some of the Widow Mines and also those Marauders that are there. We can see that Salvation wants to try and get in, but there are still more and more Storms available. Probe, this is the point that I was talking about. This is the point where you start to charge back across the battlefield towards your opponent and just start wreaking havoc across the middle of the map. And then providing you do have some of those proxy pylons across the map, which again, I'm a little bit surprised we haven't seen from Probe here. You are able to start doing a lot of damage across the map, but he is going to get his attack on, but in a different fashion. He's going to drop in a War Prison here, some Zealots inside the main. They're 2-2. He's going to really cut through these Marauders and units that are all inside the base trying to defend. A Widow Mine comes across and should help out with the defense, but Probe doesn't get the doesn't get a huge amount of damage off, slices up a few of those units, but this has given him time to establish a fourth base. We'll probably see the switch in tech now as well. We can see that 3-3 upgrades are just coming through. Dark Shrine is also being added in at the back here as well, but what I would expect is a Robo Bay to go down as well, just to give Probe the option to switch into Colossus, because at this point, normally what you'd be expecting from a Terran is they'll start to get their Ghosts out. You will see a lot of medevacs on the field, but virtually no Vikings. And speaking of which, there's no Vikings because there is no need. There's no need for that kind of response against a Templar-based play. So at this point, this is a point where having double Robo, getting those Colossi out on the field can really start to put the Protoss in a fantastic position. But Probe is going to be coming forwards. A couple of DTs are out here trying to get some damage done on these units that are pushing in on the fourth base. I think this base will go down, but perhaps the cost will be way too much. Looks as if Salvation wants to escape down the back. The medevacs activating their afterburner. Is going to load up and try and get out of there as quickly as he can. A Storm thrown down on the last few remaining units, and the medevacs do escape, but they are very low health. They need to be careful on their retreat path, and also the units inside that are very low as well. So Salvation trying to do his best, wants to come across through the middle here, but was caught out by a Storm. Some Zealots are going to be in position to knock this out as well. The fourth base goes up again from Probe. Salvation has his own fourth, has his 3-3, a little bit delayed here, but does have it on the way regardless. And look at this defense here. This is really interesting. We've got just everything rallied into the main base at the moment, just because of that Warp Prism that was really getting some good work done. But Probe, now with his own 3-3 on his upgrades for these Zealots, just need to look towards the, yeah, in fact, the Robotech is now coming out. We've got our Robo Bay, our second Robo Facility, and we can expect that Probe is going to be switching over to those Colossi very soon. You get double production out, it gets very, very hard to deal with the Protoss at this point, and this is that really contentious point that starts to cause all sorts of troubles for a Terran. But Salvation is going to make the most of what he can. We've got some Marauders that are very low on health here. As we can see, they have stimmed up, but they have gotten the work done that they needed to. In comes the Templar, lays down a Storm on top of the Medivacs here. Medivacs are getting very, very low. They're going to have to get out of there. I don't even think they can save anything here. Looks as if he'll grab a few of the units and just gets out of there by the skin of his teeth. But Salvation, we still haven't really seen too much action inside the main base. We've seen Probe attempting to get some drops going inside his opponent's base, but nothing from the Terran, and it really has started to cost him now. His economy has been a little bit behind for certain times, as we can see. The worker count 62 SCVs out for Salvation. There are 54 probes out for Probe. And as you can see, Salvation again just losing these small fights all over the map, and it is going to start to cost him. He's looking to perhaps see if he can drop again, but you just can't drop with these Medivacs so low. You're going to lose the Medivacs and the units at the same time. It gets, it sort of becomes a very tough decision at that stage when those Medivacs are very low. And now with the double Colossus starting to come out, plus Wonder Shields is being researched by Probe. Extended Thermal Lance is on the way as well, and you know, I kind of feel like Probe could have won this a lot earlier, but Salvation has done a good job holding things together for now. He's got a lot of ghosts out, but he needs to sense that this switch is coming. He can't actually see it because there's no, he hasn't been able to scan it just yet, but he needs to be careful about this Colossal switch that's coming in. And now, Ghosts are still okay. They're actually not too bad overall. Of course, once you get a cloak on, and if there's no observers, you can smash through units if you have your cloak active and ready to go. But the problem I foresee here is that if Probe catches out some of these units, especially these Ghosts, with a good Storm, in fact, whoop, he was looking for it with this Templar over here, but is not able to get it going. But there's not much to this army. It sounds really weird. There's like 9,000 ghosts here. How many is there? 24 ghosts. But when you add in the fact that there's going to be so much AoE because of the Colossi and the Storms and the Archons, the Charged Lots will be tanking things as well. It does start to look like a messy prospect here for our Protoss, for our Terran player. But as you can see, Salvation has made a lot of space here. Some Widow Mines getting some good shots off there. Storms coming in from the back, and they will shred up a lot of those Ghosts on the ground. And despite those excellent EMPs here, it looks as if Probe is going to be able to cut through everything, and that will probably be the beginning of the end for our Terran player Salvation, as he's done his best to try and, you know, hold up against the threat of the large Templar army that Probe was able to amass. But now Probe has started to win the battles. He's cut down the Ghost count to 11. The Colossi, wow, getting caught out by some Widow Mines. You don't see that too often, but Probe has been able to set up a just a really good flow throughout the game. We saw in the early game he was able to hold things together at the front despite not having any Colossi and not having Storm, and then he was able to slowly transition into the Templar play. Eventually we get the switch up into Robotech as well, with the Colossi coming out on the field. But Salvation, not out of it just yet. He's still sitting up at 152 supply. We can see his Ghost count is starting to be replenished. We've got some more Marauders and Marines on the way. This is the point where Marines start to just become virtually useless at this stage. Apart from dropping, you really won't see the Marines getting much done. There's Storm, there's Colossi, there's a lot of Stalkers, of course, which take less damage. Or, you know, they take very minor damage from Marines and those kinds of things, and they will deal it out in just in big cuts to these through these Marines. So Probe is going to well, it looks like he is going to start to march forwards. Templar at the back, trailing behind the Colossi, the Stalkers and the Zealots here. We've even got a DT thrown in for good measure, but he is going to start to push forwards. You'd expect Probe to perhaps come in here. He's going to want to try and get up on the high ground, establish a position here, and then just start to smash through that planetary. We'll see if he is going to go in that direction or if he's just going to wait and see what happens. He does know about the gold, so he certainly could come across and do some work at the gold base, but for the moment, he's just going to sit back on, as I said, I do think Probe could have won this a little bit earlier if there were some proxy pylons across the map or something like that, but he's playing it safe, playing it nice, safe and sound. Here is our Protoss player. Looks as if Salvation has, well, in a way, he's been able to get his army all back together again. But as we said, there's a lot of Marines here. They won't be able to get too much damage done. A few Vikings have been popping out to try and deal with those Colossi that are out on the field. But this battle that is now coming up should decide the fate of this game. If Probe can just cut through everything here, it will be in the bag. But if Salvation can get some wonderful EMPs off, which he has, but he just doesn't have enough follow-up here. There are no Marauders to try and deal with these leftover Stalkers, and now that those Stalkers have been free to go to work on the Vikings, the Colossi will be safe, although it is a little bit too late for them. But Probe has been able to put himself in a fantastic position here. That should be it for this game, I would expect. Again, Probe with a lack of pylon placement across the map. I am a little bit surprised about that, but Colossi is still continuing to come out here as this game continues on for a little bit longer. I hope we don't see a dragged out game for no reason. I mean, this it should be finishing up very soon because Probe has got all the upgrades in the world. 3-2-3 on his units. He comes in for a final push. Vikings doing what they can to take down the Colossi. Widow Mines are going to be dropped down, but unfortunately they do not get their shots off. Probe is, again, he's playing it very carefully here. Just worried about the ghosts, perhaps the some more Widow Mines or something like that. I'm not too sure. But Zealots are now charging in. This will be the end, and that will probably be it for Salvation. He did a good job holding out through the majority of this game. The Probe's transitions through the mid-game and into the late game have served him well. And we see the Stalkers starting to march through as Zealot reinforcements come across, and that will be it for our Terran player Salvation. He's going to try and perhaps hold the ramp here or something, I'm not too sure. He's still got a mining base down at the bottom left-hand side, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. The gold is still mining quite nicely, but, you know, I don't see how you try and... How do you stay alive in this one? Somehow the Colossi gets taken out by a couple of Widow Mines here. Probe is still attempting to get that 5th base up and running down here at the bottom right-hand side of the map, but still not able to completely crush his opponent. Wow, I was like getting ready to close this game out because I thought Probe was just going to be able to walk in and take it, but again, the lack of pylons in the middle of the map or down on his opponent's side of the map has sort of made it so that he can't reinforce as quickly as you normally would. It's a little bit like a Brood War PvT, where you can't just warp in at a pylon. You have to rally those units out from the gateways. You have to rally them across the map and hopefully be able to continue the push. But he's going to move forwards towards this gold base here. Should be able to cut down the rest of these SCVs. The Colossi production has stopped. Probe is... where is he not going to... I'm not sure what's going on. Just warping in a few more units here. 4 Colossi are present in the middle of the map. We do have some Templar here for some storms as well. More units going to be warping in. It looks like there will be some more Stalkers. Got their 3-2-3. Still no signs of +3 on the shields for Probe at the moment. But Salvation, I got to give him credit. I sort of counted him out because I thought that it was going to be all done and dusted. But Probe is sort of just, I don't know if he's accidentally sort of just messing up some of these reinforcements, or if he's just sort of taking his time and playing it safe. But it looks like he will now look to push forwards yet again. There are some ghosts there looking for some EMPs. They do get a couple off, but a few storms will remain. They're going to take out a lot of those Marines here. The Vikings are getting a lot of damage done on the Colossi. Cut the Colossi down to just the 2 now, or just the 3, and then it's going to be 2. There it goes. The final Vikings are now taken apart. The Stalkers blink forwards, trying to surround the units as they retreat up the ramp. But I mean, surely this one's it here, because Probe is harassing this bottom base here as well, making sure that Salvation is not able to get a 5th up and running. Charging up into the main base here. The Vikings are left over to try and defend against that one Colossus, but it looks as if the Stalkers will be there for a good fight as well. Zealots tanking at the front. Would be it. I would, well, attempt number 2, it'd probably be it. But Probe finally brings in some reinforcements. These Zealots are going to be able to take care of the last few units that are here, I would assume. DT is going to cover this space as well, making sure that Salvation is not able to get that one up and running. But no, we still haven't finished. I don't know, guys. I don't know. This game should be over. I'm not sure what exactly is happening. I'm not sure if I've missed drops across the map or something like that, but looks as if Probe is just going to take his time and try and win with you know, tier 1 gateway units at the moment. But he is establishing a 6 base down at the bottom, sort of just to the right side of the map here. Salvation, of course, not able to establish this base due to the DTs that were harassing him there. This base down at the sort of the 5th here for Salvation is just about mined out. His gold, of course, was harassed, but it is almost mined out itself as well. But wow, this I am truly surprised that this game has gone on this long. I kind of feel like Probe has been able to finish this off, but I don't know, maybe he's eating lunch and he's using one hand or something like that, but just imagining Probe sitting there with a sandwich. But he will now push down through the bottom left-hand side of the map. He is, well, should be able to take out this space very easily. There it goes. You'd expect maybe you could just clean up this one, but he is going to head back towards the top side of the map as well. Salvation is going to push forwards. He has around about 7 Vikings here ready to go, trying to take on the last remaining Colossi. Has quite a few Marines in this batch here. Keep in mind, these guys do have 3-3 in stims, so if they can catch out a couple of units and maybe cut down a small amount, you know, small little pockets of this force that Probe has, then yeah, he may be able to try and you know, sort of worm his way back into it. But the main issue, the only reason that I've kind of been saying that I'm a little bit surprised that this isn't over, is because Probe has access to all of that tech that he needs. He's got Storm, he's got Colossi, he's got Blink, Charge, all the cool things that a Protoss needs to deal with a Terran at the mid to late game stage, but he just hasn't been able to finish him off, and it's just, I think it's partly due to lack of reinforcements, but perhaps this will decide what's going to happen. The Storms are wonderful, blanketing the field, taking care of the Vikings in no time. However, they are able to clean up the Colossi before they're able to get all the damage done. The DTs, Blink Stalkers, and the charge lots that are here will be able to finish off the remaining units on the ground. Perhaps this time, Probe will be able to finish off his opponent as he pushes forwards with 150 supply. Where are the... Colossi, come on. Probe just, I don't know, guys. He's now finally heading down towards this base in the bottom right-hand side. Planetary Fortress will be able to protect this position for a small time as the Storm gets thrown down on top of those SCVs as they're retreating, but that will be the end of this base. Probe can probably try and just maybe set up a 7th base over here, which you rarely see in this map, but that will be it. Finally, we get to see our end of Salvation here, as he did a great job holding out. As I said, I do kind of think that Probe took his gas off his foot off the pedal there, and just sort of let that go for a little bit longer than he probably needed to, but great display, as we said, of flow and transition with the Protoss Templar play there. Going up towards Charge, getting your Storm, getting a few gates up and running, then switching over, grabbing some Colossi, getting that Death Ball mixture of Stalkers, Zealots, some Templar thrown in for good measure, and those Colossi. Hope you all enjoyed the cast. I'll catch you all next time. Here. As you can see, 47 damage to bio units and then the 34 damage against other standard targets. His Storms have also been wonderful, just spreading them out across the battlefield, doing really, really nicely there. And for Minigun, he's been sticking with a much more